Welcome back to Reunion 2025. My name is Eric Yates. I'm the Chief Advancement Officer here at Williston Northampton School. For those who don't know me, I'm in my 15th year and live here on campus. It's fantastic to have you all back on campus this weekend. You bring such energy. There's nothing quite like it every year, so we're so appreciative. And this, I really do believe, will be our biggest reunion ever. So we're really pleased to have you all. This morning we're going to celebrate 6 recipients of awards from the great classes of 1970, 1977, 1995, and 2005, as well as Northampton School for Girls alumni representing the classes of 1958 through 1973. But before we recognize today's Alumni Award recipients, it's my pleasure to first welcome Head of School, Bob Hill, to give you an update on Williston. Bob?
Thanks, everyone. Eric always reminds me that at just about this time of year, I am very tired of hearing myself talk. Between graduation, end-of-year faculty meetings, events that have already transpired over the last few days. But I also know that it's a chance to share with you all about the school. So I'm really delighted to just share a few remarks this morning about the school. Before I do that, though, I want to shout out Eric Yates and the whole alumni and advancement team for everything that you see happening here over the weekend and all the time it took. So thanks to Eric and his team. And the other thing that you might not know about me, I am in my 15th year as head of school. Catherine Hill teaches math and classical languages here, and we have 2 kidults, a 28-year-old and 23-year-old children. I call them kidults because they're at a different kind of point in life, and they graduated in the class of 2015 and 2019. So our daughter is in a 10th reunion year, and that's just freaking me out. The other thing I know that Eric and his group do is they give me multiple chances to have a microphone appearance because then I can get things right. I want to say again how incredibly meaningful it's been to have the NSFG 100th anniversary celebration all week long, 90 strong of the turnout of those women. And there was a panel yesterday. I try to tailor my remarks a little bit based on questions I'm getting over my last couple days. There was a panel yesterday for Women of Williston, and it was tremendous. And I wish we'd taped it, but it was for the HAMP alums, and there were 5 panelists from Williston, 3 faculty, and 2 recent grads of the school. And what I saw when I was there was proof positive that there are connections across generations and that the transcendent values of Mrs. Whitaker and Bement are very much here today. I also want to shout out the class of 1975 again for their 50th reunion, and to all the alumni beyond that year who came for the weekend, and especially, this is my do-over, the 60th reunion class of 1965. They turned out in force. Not sure how I forgot them, because they were at my house yesterday having a toast, and I forgot to mention them last night. All of which is to say, as Eric said, alumni really have turned out. In terms of the year that we've just had, Williston, I would argue, has completed a year for the record books. You've heard about the 5 New England Championship teams. That was football, field hockey, boys swimming, boys basketball, boys track, to say nothing of softball and boys soccer finishing as runners-up. That's quite an impressive record given the competition that we play. And it's especially notable in that Jade Morris, who's our new athletic director, enjoyed that as her first inaugural year, and as Williston Northampton School's first female athletic director. It's been a wonderful year for her. You may not have heard, we had 3 students admitted to Yale. That's a high point in my 15 years here. And that just 2 weeks ago, the class of 2025 walked off the stage with multiple students headed to Bates, Boston College, Colby, Cornell, Dickinson, Georgetown, NYU. There are many others I could name that have 2 or more of our students going. Singletons are headed to Amherst, Middlebury, Dartmouth, Duke, Emory, Haverford, Penn State. And they went to 95 different colleges and universities throughout the country and world. That's remarkable. For those who like to keep score, 6 Wildcats are headed to Northeastern University. But it does show, again, the breadth of where our students go, and they have that intrepid spirit that I think we've been talking about in the last bunch of days. I want to thank also the Heads Visiting Council, which is a group that comprises about 30 alumni who joined a program designed about 8 years ago to gain a deeper understanding of the school and its strengths and challenges. And they also returned this weekend for one of their working sessions on campus. But the HVC members were fantastic this year because they capped off something that we just began with our seniors, which was setting a senior up with an interview with an alum, and they did that. So they rose to that, and we had about 90% of our seniors go through an interview process with members of the HVC. The program that we're doing for seniors, it's essentially Adulting 101. They learn about credit cards. They learn about renting an apartment. Who knew that mom and dad didn't pay for that forever? They learned that if you have a LinkedIn account, that your handle shouldn't be raddog25. They learned things like that will help them develop a professional presence. And HVC members generously gave of their time, and I hope it was as good for them as it was for our recent alums. One of the largest classes in recent years just graduated, and that's created a lot of work for our admissions team to replace those numbers in what's turning out to be a really competitive year. I've been asked a number of questions that I wanted to sort of touch on, one of which had to do with international students and visa acquisition, since roughly 20% of Williston's student body hails from 30 different international destinations. I've been asked, are we concerned? And the short answer is yes, but we also don't want to overreact to daily headlines. To the extent that some students might be delayed or interrupted, we have, and I'm cringing as I say this, unfortunately, the memories and practices of the COVID years to fall back on in terms of delivering coursework remotely. And if it comes to that, I imagine we will develop even more practical and efficient and effective methods. I've also been asked, related to this, about how our current students are impacted by the churn and boil of culture wars and politics. And I can say with some certainty that they remain more concerned about their latest Instagram post, upcoming physics test, or promposals, and I actually think that's okay. If teenagers in the late 1960s and 1970s were a bit more plugged in and consumed by the anti-war movement, then I would argue that the dissatisfaction of the Watergate years, I would argue that today's generation, which Jonathan Haidt calls the distracted generation, does not, as a generalization, have that same focus. Our students were busy being students, competing, performing, doing the things that got them into that list of impressive colleges I just shared with you. Adults at Williston, on the other hand, are charged with worrying about those headlines, especially when they impact our students' learning and that sense of belonging that we prize so highly. Williston Northampton School has always been and will always be a place that insists on respect for self and others while allowing individual expression, creativity, and, just as our website says, be yourself here. That can be easier said than done. And that's why having a talented and dedicated faculty must always be our school's top strategic priority. That's why we focused on our people and our purpose, which is the name of our strategic plan. We just opened about to open a new duplex of faculty housing on campus, and all of those things go to attract and retain the very best teachers and have it be their home. So we do care about students' abilities to focus, and that's why we're going to ban smartphones next year. So that's a hot flash. Our students actually don't know that yet. But during the school day from 8:30 until 3:30, we won't be seeing them on campus. The invasion of AI, which has been a quantum rather than a linear force, has been, in my opinion, again, I'm just speaking for myself, one of the most negatively disruptive technologies to hit schools in my lifetime. We may adapt, as we did, to phones in students' rooms. They used to be at the end of a corridor, desktop computers, calculators, and for the first wave of cell phones. But smartphones, as Jonathan Haidt and others tell us, are a different kind and degree. It's been said that private schools, especially high-priced boarding schools, are a luxury good. But I'm of the mind they are an indispensable good, and I don't mean commodity. I believe that boarding schools, with our 24/7 claim to teenagers' time, could be a last bastion of a liberal education in the ancient ideals of that term. What does it mean with generative AI and large language models to think creatively, to train logically, and to be human? Thankfully, Williston's teachers have been fervently engaged in this topic, how we teach, assess, and insist on human creativity, original thinking, and listening and speaking as human beings in the face of transformative technology and other external forces is paramount. Ironically, not so long ago, the educational buzz was, what does a 21st century classroom and education look like? And everybody talked about high-tech high in Silicon Valley. But the New York Times recently posted an article, I think it was just last week, reclaiming that an old piece of technology is coming back to college campuses. It's called an examination blue book. We may well be headed towards classrooms that look more like a seminar table in 1980 or 1975 than a classroom in 2025 for the educational experience that you know about from our reunion classes. I believe Williston has an opportunity and obligation to carve out a responsible, relevant, and responsive education for our students in ways that the public sector simply cannot do as readily. I don't mean that as a slight. I'm not entirely despondent when it comes to generative AI and the threat it poses to a traditional education. Rather, I'm pretty fired up. Doubling down on the promise of a boarding school education, on logic and rhetoric, is a path forward rather than a retreat. Williston Northampton has never been in a stronger financial position than at any other time in our 140-year history. 184-year history, pardon me. Thanks to the support of alumni, parents, past parents, the extended Williston Family Network, we compete against the most well-known boarding schools for our students. There's work to be done, though, to secure our place, since competition never stands still. I get asked, what's next? A new academic building and growth to our endowment are priorities and will be our focus for the years ahead. And there'll be more on that later, I'm sure. But today, ceremony celebrates, as Eric said, the dedication, impact, and support of a number of alumni who I think, and I'd like to think, represent us all. So thank you very much.
Okay. All right, let's go. First, the Daniel and Jane Carpenter Award was established in 2006 by Daniel M. Kane, class of 1964, in honor of the late Daniel and Jane Carpenter and their commitment to and support of Williston Northampton School, its students, parents, and alumni. This award is given to an active volunteer or volunteers who, through effort and energy, as well as financial contribution, have had a substantial impact on the school. This year, we recognize a remarkable group of alumni with the Daniel and Jane Carpenter Award in honor of their service on the Northampton School for Girls 100th Anniversary Committee. So I'm going to read some names. Pamela Mitchell-Andros, class of 1967. Faith Barrington, class of 1961. Sarah Cornwall, class of 1970. Deborah Black Davis, class of 1958. Marcia Booth Drinkard, class of 1970. Andrea Madsen Gilmore, class of 1970. Joan Keefe, class of 1958. Jill Gordon Mark, class of 1971. Linda Lashir Underhill, class of 1971. Linda Schlosser Wood, class of 1973. And Sally Miser Wadhams, class of 1971. Together, these women work collectively to honor the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Northampton School for Girls. Their reflections share common threads: deep appreciation for their NSFG education, admiration for inspiring faculty, lifelong friendships, and a shared commitment to preserving the school's legacy. When asked about the impact NSFG had on their lives, committee members spoke of how NSFG created opportunities where before there were few, celebrated academic excellence alongside extracurricular pursuits, and nurtured their confidence during formative years. Many noted the enduring impact of Miss Bement's French program and the warmth and motherly presence of Miss Whitaker. Through their leadership and dedication, they helped ensure that the spirit of NSFG not only lives on, but thrives at Williston Northampton School. We thank each of them for their service, vision, and heartfelt contributions, and I want to invite two members of the committee, Marcia Booth Drinkard and Linda Wood, in attendance today to the podium to accept this honor. So, Marcia, you want to make some remarks?
Greetings. It is my honor to accept this prestigious award on the committee's behalf. We were asked, the committee members, 11 women, from classes of ranging from 58 to 73, were asked to make statements about what this meant to them, serving on the committee. And we came up, the compilation was, ended up with 6 themes everyone felt. First and foremost was honoring Sarah Whitaker and Dorothy Bennett, excuse me, a little fiddle with this. Their daring vision to prepare young women for higher education and/or the workforce, to broaden a young woman's worldview and encourage participation beyond home economics. Honoring our teachers. They cared deeply for us. They were our champions. They were our givers of tough love. What teenage girl, regardless of generation, doesn't need both of those? They inspired our love of learning. Can I? Okay, they inspired our love of learning by setting a good example. Oh, that French program. Academic abilities were challenged and celebrated. But they still diligently prepared us for extracurriculars, and social responsibilities. There's definitely a theme throughout was a celebration of love and friendship. Whenever we get together as a large group, there's just a huge sisterhood. But that's nothing compared to the lifelong, enduring, engaging friendships that we've made. It was a celebration of families, mothers, daughters, granddaughters, great-grandchildren, aunts, sisters, a lot of sisters, and now fathers, brothers, uncles, and sons. So are you one of those family members? If you are, please stand up. Okay. Guess not. Did you know that the Office of Engagement is currently in contact with 813 former NSFG students? That's pretty cool. 813. While involvement with WNS may have been meager in the merger years, early merger years, we've come around. And proof of that is the NSFG Endowment Instructor Fund, which was founded by NSFG about 25 years ago. as the endowment is worth well over $1 million and growing. And a whopping 83% was contributed by NSFG alum. Yes, we remain a vigorous unit of like-minded women, and it all circles back to NSFG's founding principles. Strong instructors create a solid foundation and foster intelligent, confident students and become contributing members of society. So, and the last theme was appreciation. Thank you, Williston Northampton School, for keeping Northampton School for Girls alive, preserving our archives, our spirit, some values and traditions, for celebrating our founding every 5 years. Thank you to the leadership and the advancement office teams, the alumni engagement, for keeping us all connected and celebrated. May that continue. This concludes the remarks and sentiments of the Northampton School for Girls 100th Celebration Planning Committee, and we are honored to have been a part of that committee, and we are honored to receive this acknowledgement of our work. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Marcia to stay up here on stage with me as it relates to the presentation of the next award. The Founders Award was created by the merger of the Whitaker Bement Award and the Samuel and Emily Williston Award to honor the founders and principals of the Northampton School for Girls and Williston Academy. It is awarded to an individual whose loyalty, devotion, and service to Williston Northampton School has been outstanding. This year's Founders Award honors a proud alumna of the Northampton School for Girls, Sarah Cornwall, class of 1970. After a successful career in marketing roles for Fortune 500 companies, Sarah made a midlife shift into the mortgage industry where she found continued success. In addition to her professional achievements, Sarah also earned a certificate in landscape design for the New York Botanical Garden. She's remained deeply connected to her roots, saying that North Carolina is my home, but New England is my heart. Her gratitude to NSFG and its founders, Miss Dorothy Whitaker and Miss Sarah Bement, continues to this day. She remains a loyal supporter of today's Williston Northampton School, dedicating many volunteer hours and energy to the school. In addition to the 100th anniversary committee we just celebrated, she served on our inaugural Heads Visiting Council between 2017 and 2019, and she was a longtime member of the previous Volunteer Alumni Council. Sarah is also a member of the Elm Tree Society, recognizing her philanthropic commitment to the school and her estate plan. Her service and generosity underscore her enduring belief in the transformative power of education. Williston Northampton has been incredibly fortunate to be the beneficiary of Sarah's time as a volunteer and donor, honoring both her past and the school's future. Unfortunately, at the last minute, Sarah was unable to be with us today. However, she has asked her dear friend and classmate and my stage mate, Marcia Booth Drinkard, class of 1970, to read remarks on her behalf.
And I quote, "I'm sorry to miss the opportunity to be part of this year's events, but I'm with you in spirit. I was surprised and am quite flattered to be receiving the Founders Award. Thank you to the nominating committee for considering me. I've stayed connected with our school and now our Williston Northampton School because over the years I've seen the amazing results of the committed faculty and staff, and each year leading a great group of students. I regularly check in with Bob Hill. Is Bob here? Bob, okay. Well, you'll deliver this to him, please. I regularly check in with Bob Hill to make sure he has no plans to retire, ever. The world could use more dedicated leaders like those at Northampton, Williston Northampton, and I'm thankful for that over the years I've been able to be part of ensuring the future of our shared alma mater, end quote. So please join me in wishing Sarah well and congratulate her on receiving this gift.
Okay, moving on. So Bob Hill just had received a quick call he had to attend to with a family matter. So I'm going to continue the program until he returns. Created in 2015 to honor the school's 175th anniversary, the Williston Northampton Medal is presented to an individual who has made significant achievements and contributions to their profession and/or their community, shown a commitment to professional growth, or is recognized for leadership in their field. Their contributions represent important creative effort or accomplishment with professional, societal, or educational value. This year's recipient is Glenn Jones, class of 1995. With a distinguished career spanning more than 25 years, Glenn Jones has built an impressive legacy in media, public communications, and tourism marketing across the United States and Bermuda. Currently an evening anchor at NBC 10 Boston, Jones is an Emmy award-winning journalist whose work in the competitive Boston media market has earned him regional acclaim. His on-air journey has also included reporting roles in Springfield, Massachusetts, and Fort Myers, Florida, where his compelling storytelling garnered multiple industry awards. Beyond the anchor desk, Jones's career has been marked by a deep commitment to public service. He served as press secretary to the Premier of Bermuda, leading communications strategy for the country's highest elected office, and later played a key leadership role at the Bermuda Tourism Authority. There, he rose through the ranks to serve as interim CEO, guiding the development of Bermuda's national tourism plan and helping the island successfully host globally significant events like the America's Cup and a rare spectator-attended PGA Tour event during the pandemic. Whether shaping public policy or delivering the nightly news, Glenn has remained deeply engaged in community work. He is a dedicated volunteer and advocate for social justice, youth literacy, and addiction recovery, and has served for 3 years as MC of the Action for Boston Community Development Gala. In 2023, he was named one of Boston's most influential men of color by Get Connected. Jones is a proud graduate of Emerson College and an equally proud member of the Williston Northampton school community, where he serves on the head's visiting council and supports the school generously as both a volunteer and a donor. He lives in the Boston area with his wife Camille and enjoys returning often to his beloved Bermuda and Williston Northampton School. We are delighted to recognize Glenn's achievement today. I asked Glenn to join me at the podium to receive the Williston Northampton Medal.
Good morning, everyone. I am very grateful, Eric, thank you to accept this Williston Northampton Medal with humility. I am honored. But if I'm being completely transparent, I feel like I should be giving to the school and not the other way around. And the reason I feel that way is because I feel like in the time that I was here, I received so much from the school. I try to fill that gap in the ways that Eric was just talking about, serving on the reunion committee, a lot of classmates from 95 in this room, by joining the Heads Visiting Council, which I've served on for a couple of years, and also hurting people on Founders Day. I know your inbox always dings on Founders Day with a note from me to remind you to give back to the school. So in many ways, Williston has earned that time from me because if not for it, I'm not sure I would have benefited from meeting some of the most important people in my life, some of the most important and most cherished connections. A couple of stories to make the point. Back in 1994, when I was a student here from Bermuda, that November was also my first US Thanksgiving. So my soccer teammate, Chris Amonte, invited me to Westfield to have dinner with his family. What is not to love about Thanksgiving? Football, family, food, lots of food. I absolutely loved it. And as a result of that experience, I've been around the Amonte Thanksgiving table at least 12 times since then. In 2010, when I attended the Amonte Thanksgiving, I brought my girlfriend with me and proposed to her. So whenever we're around the Amonte table in a household led by Nancy Amonte, who's here tonight, and this morning, and her husband Bill, we always feel like we're part of that family. And I credit Williston for that connection. Another example, in 1999, after I graduated from Emerson College, I landed my first job in TV news here in Springfield, Massachusetts, as you mentioned, Eric. I had a diploma, I had ambition, I had debt, but I didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. With the cost of housing and a car and all the things you need to move to Springfield, Massachusetts to take the job, I almost could not accept the opportunity because I couldn't afford the opportunity. But one of the things that made it much easier is my baseball teammate, Lute Suchecki, his parents, Bob and Mary Ellen, invited me to stay at their house so that I could start my career in Springfield, Massachusetts. And Mary Ellen Suchecki agreed to come today, and I'm so grateful to have her here. So if I just think back, so much of who I am and what I've achieved so far started with the connections and the people I met here. And that's why I feel there's always a tremendous debt of gratitude that I must pay forward. And it's why I serve on those committees. Now, this weekend, I get to reunite with a whole motley crew of people that I went to Williston with. These are also people I play golf with, occasionally I vacation with, and sometimes scandalously text with. We've been in each other's weddings. We've tried to be present for each other, even in dark times. And all of these people I met here. And here's the crazy part. I went to Williston for 1 year and made lifelong connections. As I say that out loud, it makes me also think, how many connections are we missing because we think our time with that person is too short? So I'm grateful to accept this award. I feel so blessed to have, to be one of the recipients of this medal, especially when I look at the people who have received it in the past. But for me, the most meaningful thing I could ever receive from Williston, I already have. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Congratulations. Our next award, created in 2015 for the school's 175th anniversary, the Alumni Trailblazer Award is presented to a graduate of the school under the age of 40 who has demonstrated significant professional achievement, contributions to their profession and/or their community, and continued promise of success in the future. The 2025 Alumni Trailblazer Award recipient is Betsy Ann Asumu, class of 2005. A trailblazer in every sense of the word, Betsy Asumu 05 has combined intellect, perseverance, and compassion to forge an inspiring path through medicine, business, and public service. Currently a family medicine resident at Cheshire Medical Center, part of Dartmouth Health in Keene, New Hampshire, Betsy is part of a new generation of physicians redefining what it means to care for patients with empathy, cultural awareness, and clinical excellence. Her choice to specialize in family medicine, a field known for its intensity and personal investment, reflects her deep commitment to service and community impact. Before entering medicine, Betsy built a successful career in finance, earning a bachelor's in chemistry from Williams College and a master's in accounting from Northeastern University. She rose to the position of Chief Financial Officer for Health Goes Global, a nonprofit advancing preventative health efforts worldwide. But following the death of her mother, who had emigrated from Côte d'Ivoire to pursue her doctorate and instilled in Betsy a fierce dedication to education, she felt called to make a greater impact. Betsy went on to earn a master's in medical science from the University of Vermont, and in 2024, her doctorate. Betsy credits Williston with helping to shape the resilient spirit that carried her through this journey. In a recent interview with our Alumni magazine, she reflected on formative experiences at the school, lessons in perseverance, self-awareness, and the courage to keep showing up even when that path ahead isn't easy. Today, she is more than a physician. She's a mentor, educator, and advocate working to build a more inclusive and responsive healthcare system. Her story is one of grit, heart, and unwavering purpose, and an inspiration to the Williston Northampton community and beyond. It is our pleasure to welcome Betsy Asumu, class of 2005, to the podium to accept this honor.
Thank you so much. Wow, I'm truly honored. And I know that my mom, Dr. Jacqueline Yang, is with me today, smiling down on me from heaven, being really proud of my accomplishments. She had really high standards as a single mom immigrating from another country, and didn't want to entrust my education to just any place. And I feel that she saw something in the mission of the Northampton School for Girls in creating confident, intelligent women, and so I'm sure she's pretty proud that I enrolled here, and now I get to share this sort of success that Williston has helped me achieve with all of you guys. When I think about my time at Williston, every step I've taken since then has started here. I had a hunger for growth and ambition young in life, but it wasn't until I got to Williston that really helped me give challenge, support, and passion behind that ambition. Williston taught me to stretch beyond what was comfortable and familiar, both academically, socially, and emotionally. I learned to live with others and gain a wealth of experience from their different perspectives and help me see the world through different lenses that I would not have had the opportunity to otherwise. I gained autonomy in my goal setting and self-regulation and emotional intelligence. I got to play sports I never would have had the opportunity to learn, like field hockey, lacrosse, and volleyball. One of my first days at Williston was September 11th, 2001, and amongst the confusion and fear of that day, what I remember most importantly is the sense of community. We all sat together, we grieved, we learned how to comfort each other, and we learned how to move on in a really uncertain time. That early lesson in resilience and how to move on in the face of uncertainty has stayed with me ever since. But not every lesson came from a crisis. I remember the joy of senior year celebrating our accomplishments with our dorm mates and seeing all the acceptance letters go up on the walls and being just so proud of each other and what we had accomplished. I remember laughing with my dorm mates. I also remember my real first taste of disappointment. I was running for student body president. I poured myself into that campaign and didn't win, and that was a devastating day emotionally. But it also was the beginning of a lifelong lesson that not every door opens, but your worth isn't diminished by the doors that don't open. You have to just sort of refine, get up, and try again. So in closing, every step I've taken since graduation has started here, where I learned how to grow, how to rise, and how to carry on. So thank you.
Congratulations, Betsy. Okay. The Distinguished Service Award is the preeminent service award which the school bestows upon members of our community. Since its inception in 1959, the Distinguished Service Award has been given to individuals who have shown through their actions an exceptional measure of devotion to Williston Northampton School. This year, we're pleased to recognize Ed Hing, class of 1977. A proud member of the class of 1977 and a Cum Laude Society member, Ed Hing returned to Williston Northampton School to become a transformative force in the visual and performing arts here. Over the course of his 27-year tenure, Ed has been a distinguished faculty member, mentor, coach, and creative visionary, inspiring generations of students through his teaching, leadership, and artistic passion. During that time, it's estimated that Ed has taught approximately 3,564 classes for Williston Northampton students during his time here. Yeah. Before returning to Williston Northampton, Ed spent over a decade as a partner at Hing Norton Inc., a New York City-based commercial photography studio. His work, including a portrait of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, reflects his remarkable talent and professional success. Ed taught a diverse array of courses, 5 in photography and 2 in video, and co-taught both AP 2D Studio Art and the Williston Scholars Visual Art Program, nurturing countless students' creative talents. He served as the faculty advisor to the Film Club and played a foundational role in creating and coordinating both the Williston Photographers Lecture Series between 1999 and 2025 and the Williston Film Festival, which is now in its 16th year. His commitment extended well beyond the classroom. He served as a dorm parent in Memorial Hall East from 1997 to 2009, and he coached skiing for 21 winter seasons, leading his teams to 3 New England championships. Ed also supervised the Arts Intensive program more recently, continuing to guide and support student artists with dedication and care. A true global educator, Ed led summer photography trips abroad from 2000 to 2014, bringing students on immersive artistic journeys to Italy, China, India, Vietnam, Laos, Mexico, Thailand, Cambodia, France, and beyond. His daughter, Emma Hing, class of 2013, is also a Williston graduate. And as Ed Hing retires, his legacy of creativity, mentorship, and global perspective will continue to inspire future generations. It's our great honor to present the 2025 Distinguished Service Award to Ed Hing, class of 1977, in recognition of his exceptional contributions to the academic, cultural, and student life at Williston Northampton School.
Hopefully this is the last speech I'll ever have to give. All right, thank you to Williston for the honor of receiving this award. I guess the question is, as David Byrne once said, how did I get here? So there are three phases that I'll highlight. The first is the beginning, before Williston. In middle school, I was a scrawny kid, few friends, bullied a little bit, and I spent a lot of time in our basement, and I needed to get away from that. A friend of mine was at Andover, and he said he loved it, so I thought, well, maybe that would be something to investigate, but it was past the admissions deadline, and so somehow, I'm not quite sure how we found Williston, but I applied and arrived in East Hampton in September of 1973. Boarding school was a culture shock to me. I grew up in the back end of a Chinese restaurant in New Jersey and had no idea what bean boots were or where the Cape was. So I wasn't an athlete. I was a mediocre student, but I was interested in photography. The keeper of the darkroom was Bob Couch, and I started working on the yearbook. Bob was beyond patient with me, and we hung out quite a bit together, him showing me how to do what they do in the darkroom. When winter sports season came along, I didn't know what to do, and Couchy suggested crazily that I play goalie. I think part of it was that I could ice skate, and nobody was crazy enough to do that, so onto the ice I went. The thing is that no one had ever believed that I could be any good at a sport, and Couchy said I could be, and so that was huge. Bob would become my math teacher, my dorm parent, and my mentor. Senior year, he arranged an internship with an alum, Alan Epstein. I can't remember the class. And he had a studio in Holyoke, so every day I would get on a bus and go to Holyoke and play photography in the afternoons. Couchy believed in me, and so getting me the internship was a huge first step. And I think that the confidence that he gave me to pursue my passion allowed me to have the nerve, the chutzpah, to go to New York City and look for an internship with a box of black and white prints of rocks and trees. And that happened. Summer after Williston, I interned in New York, and that changed my trajectory deeply. Step number two. So eventually, Janine and I ended up in New York working in the advertising world. And Alumni Connection, we came up for a couple of the career days that we used to do. So alum would come up, talk to students, and share their experiences. On one of the intercession trips that Bob took, he invited us to come to Nantucket and be guest artists. And it was pretty cool to think that you could have a job where you got to travel, hang out with kids, see what they're thinking, take pictures. It was quite an eye-opener. One night at dinner, being kind of a wise-ass New York guy at the time. I asked Couchy, so when are you going to retire? And he replied, oh, why? You want my job? And I said, well, call me when it's time. And that call came in the spring of 1997. Couchy called me and said, hey, I'm going to retire. Do you want my job? And I said, and he said, you need to come up and just interview, see what happens. And I came up and I interviewed, and Karen O'Neill called me and said, hey, the job is yours if you want it. And Janine and I talked about it. We had just adopted our daughter, and it was time for a change. And I thought, you know, if I could give back and affect one kid's life, just one, like Couchy did mine, that would be worth it. And so up we came. And step number 3, 27 years later, I am happy to say that I've been able to live a life pursuing my passions, actually, thanks to both my student life and my career here at Williston. I smelled stop bath every morning. I've cut the shutter thousands upon thousands of times. I've traveled to countless countries, eaten who knows what while doing so. I was able to ski every day as part of my job description. And I've seen alumni working on major films, exhibiting in museums, even winning a student Oscar. Quite nice, right? Thank you. In terms of the impact that I've had, I would encourage you all to go walk the halls of Reed. Our lab technician, Julia, crazy as she is, she took all of the pictures that were hiding in all the various corners of the lab from alumni over the past 27 years and put them up on the walls of Reed. So there's 27 years of alumni photography hanging up in the hallway. And walking through the halls the other day when she finally got them up there, I said, wow, just wow. I don't have words to really describe how that made me feel. To see all of the artistic life that everybody was able to share with me and with the community on the walls. Please take a look. It's pretty amazing. So again, thank you to the school for all that you've given me for this award. And if you want to chat, because I know there's not a lot of time, I will be back over in Reed this afternoon, probably from here to there, and come check out the work, come say hi, and thank you very much.
Congratulations, Ed. I can say, besides being the most stylish guy on campus, honestly, in my 15-year tenure, yes. I have the privilege of meeting with alumni all over the world, and Ed's impact is really clear in talking with so many alumni that we get to see and hear from personally about the impact that Ed made in their lives. Congratulations, Ed. Also, I should remind just everybody, I think between 1 and 3 o'clock. Now and 3, okay. Ed will be if you haven't had the opportunity to stop in the Grubbs Gallery this afternoon, be a great time to see Ed and see Ed's work as well. So we invite you to do that. While we're talking about remarkable service and achievement, as some of you may have already heard, we are also honoring Ray Brown, class of 1955, this weekend, in recognition of his more than 40 years of service as a dedicated teacher, coach, and mentor to generations of Williston Northampton school students. On the occasion of his 70th reunion, as you may have heard, a handful of alumni have come together to establish an endowed scholarship in his name. So please just join me in congratulating Ray Brown. I want to thank you all for supporting our recipients by joining us today. I also, on a housekeeping note, ask that all of our Alumni Award recipients and their families remain in the theater, at least for a short time, for some professional photos following the event. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here.